Jess here from the Reptile Nook, and today I have our Samboa Cassie with us, and we are going to talk about how I became a reptile educator. Now, before I begin, I'd like to just give a quick disclaimer that there are other ways to get to where I am now. There's not just one clear-cut way to become a reptile educator. My reptile education journey started when I was in high school. I was in an agricultural program through FFA, and my goal originally was to become a veterinarian, but eventually switched to wanting to be a high school agriculture teacher. So I went into college with that mindset, wanting to teach animal science, especially with livestock, and so with that, I knew I had to really diversify what I was learning about in school. When I went to college, I went to UConn, and so I knew I had to get a little bit of animal science, plant science, mechanics, and natural resources. So when it came time for me to do the natural resources part of my education, I decided to get a zoo internship. When I first got my zoo internship, I really wasn't sure how I was going to like it. I was so used to working with livestock all the time and not exotics or wildlife or anything like that. But by my second shift, I totally fell in love with it, to the point where the very next summer I went in and was in charge of their teen program for the summer. So I was working with their teenagers 5 days a week, 7-8 hours a day, and it was great, had a blast. And that was the summer that we got our first corn snake, Peach. And this was before the Reptile Nook was even an idea in our minds. So we got Peach. She was a little baby. She did come from that zoo because she was hatched from a pair of snakes at that same zoo. When I first got my zoo internship, I really wasn't sure how I was going to like it. I then graduated from UConn during 2020 when it was the COVID lockdown. And it was very hard to find another zoo job, another similar job doing education, because by that point I realized I wanted the world to be my classroom. And I wanted to teach about pretty much any animals I could, not just limited to livestock anymore. And I finally found a job, and it was an education job at an educational farm. So it took my knowledge from the zoo with my past knowledge from high school and before that, and I was like, this is the best of both worlds, this is great. And with that, I already had a few reptiles as pets. So Peach was one of them, Spot was one of them, we had 2 chameleons, all of that. So I was actually bringing my animals to work with me to teach my students at the farm about those animals. I then graduated from UConn during 2020 when it was the COVID lockdown, and it was very hard to find another zoo job, another similar job doing education, because by that point I realized I wanted the world to be my classroom, and I wanted to teach about pretty much any animals I could. Not the farm that I was working at was back to woods, so it was very beneficial to be able to bring in my own reptiles and educate them about other animal species, reptile species that were native to that area, such as black rat snakes and any other frogs, lizards, any type of reptile amphibian that was frequenting the farm because of its location. Now, when it was time for me to switch gears, I then decided how fun would it be to make my own education job, start a reptile education business, because I had already kind of learned how to do that between my previous jobs. So with that, I started a social media page, Instagram, for just pretty much to showcase my animals first, knowing that I wanted to do education down the road with these guys, with our animals. So I just made the Instagram page. I was like, let's get the following before we start the business. So I manned that Instagram page for a little while, started working on a website so we can launch eventually, and got onto Facebook, all of those social media platforms and avenues online. And then Cassie here, the reason I chose Cassie to be in this video is because she was the first reptile that we got with education in mind. So all of our other animals were either rescues or animals that we researched prior to getting them, because we knew that they were something we wanted. And Cassie was a rescue, but when we found her, we were told that she was actually great with being handled. And we're like, okay, she's small, which would be great for kids to see that snakes aren't always these huge animals. And the fact that she was friendly, we're like, that's perfect for her going to schools or anything like that. So now going forward, every animal that we bring in, whether it's a rescue, whether we get it from a breeder, however we get them, we have their temperament and how they would do after training, being around people of all ages in mind when we get them. So Cassie, we worked with her, we trained her a bit, and then now she is a great program animal. She tolerates handling with being pet with the children very well. We always do the 1 or 2 finger rule with her, usually 1 finger. We save 2 fingers for the bigger guys. But now we are entering our 3rd season, and I have been lucky enough to go to every single program that the Reptile Nook has booked. We have other staff that do go to programs as well, but I've been fortunate enough to lead every single program to date, and that is how I became an educator. Again, not everybody goes through the same means to get to this point, and an important piece to know is even though I am an educator now, my education for myself is not done. So I recently just completed the Master Herpetologist course through the Amphibian Foundation. It's a great course if you want to learn a lot. It gives you so much information. It's about 60 lectures over the course of 16 weeks, so it is a lot to take in. But that information has helped me now where I can share that information at my programs. And I also use Reptifiles to continue learning to improve my husbandry and all those different avenues. It's important for me to continue growing and learning to better my programs and to better the information that I am giving to people when I teach. I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.